Yo, G's, how we doing? It's been a minute here with another workshop. Let's get some ones in the chat if you could hear me. One. What's up, Martin? What up, No? All right, seeing a lot of ones. Everyone can hear me. Let's just wait a couple seconds for everyone to get in. Nice. What's up, John? What's up, Goku? What's up, Matrix? All right. So Instantly added this feature. A lot of you that are using Instantly probably know about a week or two ago, where if your bounce rates get above 5%, they're pausing your campaigns due to high bounces. And the way we do it in System 3 is we kind of filter out these risky emails, right? So we get, a certain amount. If we find an email, then we're going to use it. And Instantly, there's some features where they kind of try to block risky emails, but a lot of you are getting high bounce rates, like 25% and above, and you don't want that. So what I'm going to show you is how to reduce those bounce rates. Like, this is the example campaign that I set up in the courses for System 3, and I just ran this so we could, for demo purposes for this workshop and others. But you can see if I hover over the bounces, it says 28% of contacted leads are bounces, and that's not good. We want to reduce that. So number one, I'm just going to walk you through a scenario that I built that shows you how to get a lead campaign that you already have in Instantly and then remove some of those risky emails. And number two, how to integrate this with the second part of the email finder campaign for System 3 so that you don't have to go ahead and do this every time and you're saving operations. So let me just pull up the chats, making sure I'm reading everything that's going on. All right, cool. So first thing we want to do, you can see I'm in that example campaign here. Like I just showed you, we have 115 bounces, and there's no way directly with Instantly modules to go ahead and get all the leads from a certain campaign. So what we can do is we can just click this little tab here that says email. We can select all. So it's going to select every lead in the campaign. And then we can go ahead and then download all leads in the campaign. And then it'll pop up here. Now I've already done this and I already uploaded it to a Google spreadsheet. You can see I titled it Stop Bounces Demo. And so what I want to do is just take you through the scenario that I built now for this. So as you can see, we start with our Google Sheets module. And this is actually, hold on, let me just bring the trigger back over here. And this is actually taking the leads from the Google spreadsheet that I just showed you. And what we're going to do is, since we already are using any mail finder, you should be familiar with that from the courses. We're going to use, they have modules obviously in make.com, and you can see they have one for validating an email. So what we do is we can take the email row from our spreadsheet, we can pass that in, and let me just quickly show you what this looks like, right? So this is how the format of the campaign looks like from once we download it from Instantly and upload it as a CSV. You can see we have the campaign name, the email, the Instantly status, blah, blah, blah. And then we can see the icebreaker and all that good stuff. So we can take the email from the row, and then this is going to give us a validation. So if I just I'll set this filter to, let's say, like 10 is fine, and I'll run this. And you can see for the output of an operation, we input the email to validate. We get an email validation parameter, which says email unknown, and then we get success true. So in the courses, I show you, hey, if we actually find an email, we're just going to continue it. But what I'm going to show you now is how to filter those leads down a bit more. So what do I do? What do I do here? I hooked up a module or a platform called Never Bounce, and let me just take you to that page. It's called Never Bounce. And what this allows you to do is it's just a third-party email validation tool. Let's see if I can just get this out of here. Whatever. And so let me just pull up the different result codes that we can get. Actually, first, let me show you how, if you wanted to sign up for Never Bounce, you could. You can see in a second, I'm going to show you how we can use Hunter.io as well. But if you go back to integrate, you can create a new app, and then you could do a custom integration or a webhook, I believe, actually. Create app, or maybe it is a custom integration. It's been a little bit since I did this. Custom integration, create app. Let's say this make.com demo stop bounces, create app. And then from here, I could click this drop down and I get an API key. And then of course, in the module here, you'd add a new connection, you'd add your API key and everything would be set up. So that's how we connect to this. And let me just show you the different result codes that we can get from an email validator. So I just went to neverbounce.com. They have some documentation on this, and there's different parameters that we can get. So we have valid. This shows that the server is trustworthy. Is it safe to send? Yes. We have invalid, which of course we don't want to send to. We have disposable. We don't want to send to. It's a temporary valid email address. We have accept all. You can see this is maybe. So I'm going to give you 2 routes you can take. And then there's unknown. The server cannot be reached. And for that reason, we don't want to reach out either. So there's a couple ways we can go about this. Number one, I have this filter, and you can see the output operations. First off, I have this filter, right? If validation is unknown. So if we get our email validation unknown from this module here, right? Email validation is valid for that one. That's fine. If it's unknown, it's going to go forward to this module. And then here we get the result. So you can see for the result codes, we have valid, invalid, disposable, accept all, unknown. This is usually known as catch all, which I found just from running this scenario. So what we can do is add another filter, and I call it just this check. We could say if result is invalid, or the result is disposable, or the result is unknown, then we want to go ahead and head to this instantly AI module. And you can see this is a specific function to remove a lead from a campaign. Let me just quickly check the chats because my computer is not loaded up in front of me. And so then what we can do is, again, you would just add a instantly connection. You'd add your API key. Nice. And then what you do is pass in the address info from the original email. So that would be here, original email. And then you could choose the campaign from your Instantly account. You can see I chose the customer support one, which is the demo that I created here. And what this is going to do is if it passes this check, right, if it's any of these values, if the email is unknown, disposable, or invalid, then it's going to go ahead and remove that from the campaign. So if I just run this, right, let's say, what's one that got bounced? This one. So if I were to take this email, head into here, I can unlink this, start the trigger here, unlink this, so we can just test this specific email. If I just want to paste this email in, we can go ahead and run this, and you can see that the result is invalid. Therefore, we don't want to contact that email, and that's an email that would be saved. So if I were to just hook this up and then run that again, you can see that we get an output operation, and we successfully removed it from the campaign. So it was this one here, be dulit, whatever. If I just refresh this page, you can see that's no longer here, right? So that's essentially what we're doing with this scenario. Again, this is if you've already set up an Instantly campaign and you want to filter out a lot of the risky emails. So another tool that I'm going to show you is Hunter. We can use Hunter.io. A lot of you are wondering for alternatives of any mail finder, and Hunter.io is a great alternative. So if we just wanted to connect this up, we could just drag a module to Hunter.io. Then we can see what type of parameters it is. Okay, so I have a test email in here. So actually, if I unlink this, drag it in here, and I just run this to verify an email, you can see that we get result status invalid, right? So we don't want that. If I were to check this same email, we'd get the same result. Run this. Invalid, right? So you can set up the same principle here. You would just filter this in the chain of these modules, unlink any mail finder, don't need that. Link this up with never bounce. Actually, you wouldn't even need to do that. You could just go directly from Hunter.io, right? So we could do, if I look up, Hunter has the same thing as never bounce, right? It's kind of standard. There's valid, accept all, which is the same thing as catch all, invalid, disposable, unknown, right? So if it's any that isn't valid or accept all, then we don't want to do it. Now, what I mentioned earlier is that we have this check, right? You could add another one. So we could hit add or rule, and then we could say if result is catch all, then we also remove it. But here's an explanation of accept all. It's called the catch all with the API. Let me actually look at it with Hunter because they give a better description. Accept all email addresses that have email servers that accept any type of email sent to them. Using this type may lead to bounces, right? So this is basically saying, hey, this could be an active email. It could not be an active email. We don't really know. So you're kind of taking a chance. If you want to be completely safe, you don't want it to bounce, then you would include catch all as in the filter. So you don't include those emails. So you remove them from the campaign. But I personally like to keep this because while it can result in a bounce, it can also result in a lead. And I've actually had experience where there's been many emails that have the catch all or accept all flag in it, and it ends up turning into a lead that's interested. So that's just completely up to you. Of course, if you're putting in the LinkedIn Sales Navigator 2,500 leads, that's going to cut down the percentage of actual people that you're reaching out to if the more filters that you add. So overall, I think this is a pretty good rule of thumb. Invalid, disposable, or unknown. That'll keep us at a relatively healthy bounce rate around 10%, and that should be fine. Our email accounts won't get too damaged from that. Now, again, I told you that just this is kind of off topic in removing bounces, but a lot of you wanted an any mail finder alternative, right? So you could use Hunter.io. Let's say you wanted to find an email. I just have an example here. You get okay, if I run this, you can see it actually finds the email and we get a score. So you could use all of this information to filter out as well. It also gives us a LinkedIn URL, which is pretty useful. The difference between any mail finder and Hunter.io is that any mail finder only charges us for fully verified leads versus Hunter.io, which charges us for every search. So that's completely up to you. I think they're around the same price. Hunter.io has some more features. It allows us to do campaigns. It has a lead database directly within it. So that's completely up to you. And those are both tools that you could utilize. So now that we have that, let me actually go and open up how we can integrate this directly within System 3. So here we are. What you want to do is we have our webhook. Nothing's changed there. And then you want to set this through a router. So what a router does is it says, hey, if this condition is true, go this way. If that condition is true, go the other way. So first, I set up this filter. If success is true and validation is valid, then we're just going to continue, right? So I have the conditions here. Success is true and results validation is valid. Then we continue along. We create the icebreaker, do the JSON, we send our HTTP request. All good. That's normal. Then I have a second condition. If success is true, but the validation is not equal to valid, then we're going to follow this route. And if you just want to add that, you would do add and rule. And then you could set text operator is equal to, change that to not equal to, right? And of course, there's a bunch of other formulas that you can choose from here. Then we're going to go through never bounce. Again, you could use Hunter.io for this. That's also a very good option. And we have the same thing. We're passing in our email from the webhook. And we're going to go through. I have the same check, invalid, disposable, unknown. It's going to go through creating the icebreaker. And while I'm just explaining this, let me just actually run this. So just to show you that it's removing all of these leads. So what did we have? We had if success equals true, validation equals unknown. So if success is true and email validation is unknown. Okay, we're going to continue to this. And we have our check in place. Have everything hooked up. Cool. I'm just going to run this without a limit so we can see that in the background, this is going to go ahead and remove the bounces. So right now, you can already see that one that we took off, put it down to 27%, but there's 112 here. So we'll see how many that removes. Let's run this. And then, of course, after you check this, we have the results email. Already covered that. We're going to do the check, like I just mentioned. Then we're going to go through the same train, creating the icebreaker, parsing the JSON, making the HTTP request. So a lot of you, like I mentioned in the beginning of the call, if you weren't here, instantly added that new feature where it automatically pauses your campaign if it's getting above, I believe, 5% bounce rate. This is going to help combat that. Like I said, if you want to make sure you're absolutely getting no bounces, you could just make it so the only emails that are getting added to your campaign has the flag that is valid. And if you want, what I personally do is allow the catch-all emails to go through just because there's a high chance that those are going to be leads that end up converting. So I'm just going to take a second while this other scenario is running and just take some questions. So let me see. Just looking in the chats. Any questions, G's? The AI automation chat? All right, it's not looking like we're getting any questions. Just give it a couple minutes. I just hop over to this instantly. You can see if I refresh the page. Okay, well, it's still going through this scenario, but we removed that one. Oh, wait, I forgot to change something. This has to be the email. Should be all good now. How much is Never Bounce? It's fairly cheap. It's, I think, less than a cent per each email that you check. So personally, Never Bounce is good. Hunter does the same thing, and it'd be probably better to go with Hunter if you're going to use it for finding emails as well, because it has all of those features built in. Why did you choose any mail finder out of all email validators? Yeah, so I touched on this a second ago. Any mail finder is really good because it only charges you for fully verified leads. So if I put in 2,500 leads in there and I need to find 2,500 validated emails, if it only comes back with 600 validated emails, fully validated, then it's only going to charge me for 600 credits. It's not going to charge me for 2,500. So Hunter does that as well. What do you think about using Apollo AI API instead of any mail finder? You can, like Apollo AI, Hunter.io, just alternatives to any mail finder. There's no reason that you couldn't use those. Again, it's just about tweaking the workflow. Zeter says, better is do this what you do now on Make or buy verified emails on Instantly. It's better to do LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Like Instantly, everyone's selecting from that same pool. With LinkedIn Sales Navigator, we can get way more targeted. So we can find, of course, the exact industry. We can search specific keywords in people's, bios in their profiles and all that good stuff, just like we show in System 3. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is by far the best as well because we're using an email finder to find those leads. So most of the time, there's not too many people contacting them versus the leads provided straight from Instantly. There's a lot of users of Instantly that are just finding those leads. So someone said, Matrix Slayer says, it seems confusing. Might have to watch it back. If there's any questions you have, just let me know. I'll go over it now. Mr. J, what's your response rate percentage with using this system out of 1,000 outreaches? So that completely depends, right? There's some campaigns that have gone up to 20, 25%, but it all depends on your offer. If you have social proof, how your offer comes across, how much of a problem it solves for your niche, what's your risk reversal, right? Those are all factors. On average, this will get around a 10%, 15% reply rate. But again, that depends on your niche, how targeted it is, how well your email sequence is crafted. Let's see if I just hop back over to here, I refresh this page. You can see, okay, we're at 111. So maybe it didn't remove as many as we wanted, but that's just because of this campaign. I didn't run it much, right? So